If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
Buy merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener.
This is the Imperishable Flame stream, as you can see there. Let's check out the intro. The Imperishable Flame stream returns with a stacked card with something for everyone to love or hate. Thank you, Vin and Sori, for some late Friday night fun, entertainment, and enlightenment. Nice. Alright, you guys, Misery Biz is up first with a song. Well, Alchemist is the band name, and the name of the song is Chinese Whispers.
Chinese Whispers.
And he says, I don't have any comments, only lyrics.
Shut up, kid.
Go! without the pretentious bullshit. Futuristic now. I think
Wow.
this is a relationship song.
I believe you're correct. But I don't think it could just be like a romantic relationship. It could be...
Damn.
I think it probably is, but...
Yeah, if you got a funny idea or romance there, Missy.
Wait.
If that's a romantic relationship.
Well, no, that style of relationship. I also think it could be a parent and children.
A non-platonic relationship, you mean?
No, I think it could be either or.
No, but when you say romantic relationship, you mean non-platonic relationship.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I see.
yes,
I
exactly.
See. I see.
Uh-huh.
The Deftones,
Yikes.
that was a great comparison. That they were kind of Deftonesy when they got harsh. Because Chino does that. Chino doesn't do the "Rah!" It's more of like a squeal. Mm-hmm. Like a demon possessed pig or something. You know, like a hog, you know?
Like a hog, okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, this...
Shout out to Justicia. I love that name.
Me too.
That is that's one of the baddest names on the planet.
Can you not forget that one? Because
I would never forget that name.
That one might get you...
Justicia Distributiva.
What?
I did a Bible study with you on that one time. Justicia Distributiva.
Distributive? What?
Yeah. You can see how powerful the Bible study was there. She doesn't even remember the thingamajiggy. We got Pony in the house.
Imagine how
Holy
many
smolies, we got Pony in the house, man. This is crazy.
I know, and Jay was here too. And AT. Okay, so this song to me was two people. One of them, it says, speaking my mind, single trail of thought. Whoa, hold on. Yeah, speaking my mind, single trail of thought. Difference in the way we perceive, your inability to receive. I know you listen, faults lie between us. You hear me speaking, something changes my words. Hordes of inconsistencies.
He's trying to get his shirt off.
Why don't you just come over
frustrated.
here? Why don't you just come over here?
Hold on for a second, dear listener. It's okay, little bro.
Okay.
Well, he's trying not to interrupt us, you know.
Ben. Yeah, but...
Okay, you're good, Orion. You feel better?
Yes.
Okay. Shut the hell up and let us work.
Yes, I'm sure you were just, so hot in your tank top.
He was. He's trying to be a soldier about it. Give the man some credit. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so to me it kind of sounded like two people, there was some communication issue, but it sounds like there's some issue that's underlying, like faults and issues between them. And so the person that is talking...
we got Revo, we got Tosco, yeah, we got Franco. We got we got the crew here. I got my man Middle Earth here.
Is this
right now?
Is this our little homie?
No.
Okay. So it sounded like that they had issues between them, and it was the person that was speaking was saying, like, I know that you're listening, but it almost sounded like
he didn't say I know you're listening. He said I know you hear my words. Right.
Right. Okay. Well,
that's not the same thing as I know you're listening.
It says I know you listen.
I see, okay.
It says, faults lie between us. You hear me speaking, something changes my words. Hordes of inconsistencies in fiction swarm the paths of your thoughts. Your interpretation of my actions convenient to your cause. So the person has accusations about the other person, and it's affecting the way that they hear and probably see the situations that are going on. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yes. I've been known to do that. Hear things differently than they are said because I believe something to be true.
I just, what's really fascinating is that among scientists now, like credentialed scientists, and I've talked about this like a million times, where Pice says to Einstein, "Are you really, really saying that you don't believe that the moon is there unless we're looking at it?"
Mm-hmm.
And so, spooky action at a distance, yada yada yada. I'm not going to get into all like the technicalities of the science, but the point is that there are credentialed individuals who have spent their entire lives literally in academia, longer than you and I have been alive, that genuinely believe that the only reason that you see the moon is because you believe that it's there, and that's it. And so, for me, it has, and obviously there's like 3 hours of like simple breakdowns of whatever to get to that point. But the point is, it does make you say to yourself, if the mind is that powerful as to create these very powerful hallucinations, then how is it possible that you think that you can just speak to a person and they would be able to interpret what you're saying in some sort of like objective way when you are not saying those things in the heat of battle in an objective way? You're speaking your truth based on your perceptions. Right? This is self-talk.
Yeah.
So how could a person logically expect for a person to be able to sift through and say, no, this is my voice versus this is this person's voice in the middle of that? If the mind is so powerful as to make up the moon, then it could easily make up these alternate realities in these conversations based on what you presuppose to happen.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that because Vinny and I will have conversations, and I'll remember the conversation one way, and he'll remember it another way. The thing is, Vinny's memory is such that he can actually quote the conversation back, basically verbatim, which is I don't have that ability. So I remember the conversation based off of how I experienced it. So if I think something is said a certain way, then I'm not going to remember the words. I'm going to remember what I thought the words were supposed to mean, and basically I'm just getting an idea. And that's how I did school. That's how, I think, just how my mind works. Like, I'm not going to remember the exact phrases unless my feelings are hurt. Then an exact phrase will stay in my head, and it will just kind of go on repeat. So I was thinking, this is one of the reasons why 1 Corinthians 13 is so important, is because you're supposed to love believes all things, it hopes all things, it's looking for the best in someone. So if you love someone, then you're not going to look for the worst case scenario, which is something that I think there's a real negative side to me, and a fearful side of me, where I look at a situation and I almost want to perceive the thing before it happens. So if I think that for instance, I rush around when I'm trying to do everything super fast because I'm so worried that somebody's going to think that I wasn't working hard or fast enough.
Yeah.
But it's dangerous. The way that I drive sometimes, not with the kids in the car, but if I'm by myself and I'm driving, it's just a little bit too much because I'm just trying to hurry too much. So I think that so I've been thinking about the 1 Corinthians thing, and I was thinking also because I had gone into a certain forum and I was genuinely trying to look for someone who was similar to me in experiences, so I could learn something from them. And I put my post out there, and people just mobbed on it, looking at it as the worst possible way that that was put out there, and I was like, wow, like the intention of my heart and what I was trying to accomplish in that just got completely railroaded and just run over. And it was weird because like I was reaching out for like help.
But I think the context there is important because it was in a racialized platform.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're a white woman, it's a racialized platform. So they already had a presupposition of what you were saying or what you meant by what you were saying. Because you're a white woman.
Yeah.
Right? And so the only reason I pointed out the importance of that was just because a lot of our perceptions are based on our presuppositions.
Yeah, that's 100% what happened. Yeah.
Right?
And it was based on like, because in my post, I mean, I'll just say it. I grew up, you know, in an environment where I didn't realize that racism was still a thing. I thought that there was like random, like all, like, for instance, there was this mentally challenged guy that had gone to, he was Down syndrome actually, and he was riding his bike, and like my father was driving behind them and saw the guy riding his bike. This person pulled over, opened up their car door, and kicked over his bike, just dumped him onto the road like that, and then just took off driving. That was actually how my father, I think, met him. And so I thought that, of course, there's just some horrible people, like, what a horrible person. Like, you see that person was dealt that lot in life, and you just decide that you're going to open and kick him over?
That's fucked up.
And he was, like, such a good person, like, just such a sweet person. Anyway, so I thought that, yeah, there's going to be some random, like, really terrible people in the world. And those people are going to be racist. But I didn't realize that the culture is set up in such a way that there is systemic racism. And that if you have a white child and you have a brown child and they both go into the store, one's going to be looked at as more of a thief than the other one. And they're going to be looked at more the side eye and stuff. So, like, and also realizing that if your children, you know, when they grow, like, you know, one of our oldest, he's as big as a man now. So, you know, that scares me because I think, well, what if there's some situation and the cop misunderstands, and then because they do things like, you know, use mug shots that are all black people to target practice. So you're training somebody's mind that shoot at just black faces, like, you know, so it's stuff like that. Like, so as a white woman, and I wasn't a part of a brown family, and I didn't realize that this was a thing. And, you know, coming into it and having, you know, my kids come home from work and tell me the things that are going on. And, like, for instance, one of our kids, he's new. He was only 14 years old. He was 14 years old and he got himself a job. And while he was there, he made mistakes on the job. He was calling them too much to find out what his schedule was. Like, that's a problem. But they didn't have a written out schedule. He had to ask them. That's how they did the schedule. Like, just different things. Anyway, they gave him a list of like 6 to 10 things of all the things that he was doing wrong, instead of like, hey, this is something you got to work on. Hey, you got to do this thing differently. Like, they just mobbed him with all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's not right. You can't do that to somebody. That was just one of many things. So just hearing like my children experiencing things, seeing things in the news, and hearing like them talk about it and crying and knowing that it's people that look like me that are doing that to people that look like them. It's just like it's so hard to like come into that reality and then see it, and like, how do you process through that? And like, you know, obviously Vinny's been in it his whole life, so he knows, but so coming into it is almost like there's like a shock. So I was looking for another white woman that also has brown children, that understands that, you know, maybe didn't realize racism is a thing, but realizes it now. And so that was kind of what was going on anyway. And there's just a mob of black women attacked me in that comment section. It was unbelievable. And then a white woman came in and she was like, ka, 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 ka. And I was like, what is happening? People were like, what, did you live in a friggin' box? And I was like, well, I mean, I did have a very sheltered upbringing. I didn't even want to put my business out there like that, but I was like, you know what, maybe people are. But I had used an emoji that was like the crying lady, because it was a sad topic. Plus I also thought my emoji was cute, and it was a crying duck beside it. But that triggered everybody. They were like, another white woman. I woke up to see another white woman crying. I was like, yeah, but this white woman's crying over racism, not crying because...
Yeah, but like, there's this giant controversy right now in country music with this guy. I think it's Jason Aldean, whatever it is. And he's got the song Try That in a Small Town as the name of the song.
Okay.
I think we watched it or whatever. And he's saying, sucker punch a woman on the street, disrespect a cop, spit in his face, burn the flag, stomp it. Try that in a small town.
Oh.
And then the next verse was, they say they're coming for our guns, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you guys do that shit in the city, but try that in a small town. Anyway.
Kind of like that song.
He is... Now it's like this, these are racist dog whistles. These are, this is clearly a racist song. It's an anti-BLM song. It's an anti-this. And it's like, well, wait a second. Like, so the guy basically wrote back and he said, look, I wrote that because his perception of the small town is everybody takes care of each other. So, like, you're not going to go and sucker punch an old lady in a small town. Like, dudes are going to get at you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so, obviously that's coming up in the Middle America thing. And I'm like, I see it from both ways. Like, I can completely see how black folks with a certain kind of presupposition, or even, allies or whatever, have a certain presupposition, especially of a straight hetero white male, like, that's like, so that's the person right now that everybody has immediately disguised the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, it's very easy to look at that and look at the entire presentation, but to me it's like, I appreciate that he didn't say, I apologize for the song, blah, blah, blah. All he said was, that I can, recount, is he was like, listen, man, like, I just think that in a small town, people are and it's true, like, if you're in the South, like, country, small town, like, yeah, people, like, yes sir, no sir, all that, like, you would not be able to hit some woman in the street without people getting on you.
Yeah.
Whereas in the city, the rules of the cities. Mind your business.
Yeah.
Because if I jump on you for trying that lady, you might shoot me. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But so the rules and the expectations are different between a small town and a big city, and like. But I also understand how when black people are interacting online with racists on Twitter, they say things like that. So like people who are just out and out, like, okay, George Floyd got what he deserved, that type of thing. They say things like that.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that he intended that.
Mm-hmm.
That dude, whatever his name is, I've never heard of dude. That's the other thing. It's like, it's one thing if, like, you've been following a certain artist for years. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are artists that I'm friends with now, and, like, I know personal things about them. Mm-hmm. But if you've been following an artist for years, especially in the social media age, there's a lot of things you can piece together about their personal life. But if you've never heard of this guy, how can you come up with any assumption of what he meant if you've never met him? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And so it's like all these people, like, blah blah. They, like, literally every bad, like, negative comment about this dude that I've heard starts off with, "I never even heard of this bum until this controversy," and then they go on to say, "But I know the inner workings of his heart that he meant this in a racialized way." It's like somebody called it an anti-BLM song. He didn't mention BLM in the thing. He talked about people hating cops or whatever, but we've hated cops long before BLM. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is, like, why would you even mention BLM anymore after what those girls did? So so it's a relationship song. There's a lot of ways that you can take that, but to me, it's like, it's about interpreting, having a presupposition that the person you're in a relationship with, whether it's a romantic relationship or a parental relationship or even a relationship like at the citizen level, and you come with a certain presupposition. Even if you hear the information, you're not going to hear what the heart of what the person is saying because you have this assumption about them. Mm-hmm. And, like, I think all of us, like, when we're in an analytical mood, could be like, yeah, that's not... But that's very, very difficult to do in the real world in real time. When you have real feelings and real emotions about real situations, Mm-hmm. Like,
well, I think...
It's different.
I think that one of the things is, you've said, like, don't make decisions based on fear and pride and, like, different things. So the fear one for me is really important, because that is if you're fearful, you're going to imagine all kinds of other things, and then you're going to think, well, what do they mean when they say that? What's this? What's that?
Right.
And so because you're spending so much time trying to figure out what the person meant behind what they were saying, that you end up hamstringing the entire thing, and you don't really remember what was actually said. So, I guess that's why communication is so important. Mm-hmm. But it has to be a two-way street, because you can't have just one person communicating.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It has to be, because you can say something and you can communicate clearly what you mean, but if I misunderstood what you mean, you don't know that I misunderstood it unless I say, well, what did you mean when you said that? Yeah,
that's a big go-to for you. And then my big go-to has been, say back to me what I said. Mm-hmm. And that's been working, like... When conversations have those, like, they usually go pretty good for us. When they don't, they don't go very well.
No, when they go bad, it's just real bad.
Yeah, so that whole situation, like.
But see, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But that whole, like, 1 Corinthians 13 thing, where you're, like, believing all things and you hope for the best in the person. I mean, until somebody, like, I don't think that if somebody's slapping you in the face every day, I don't think you should hope for the best that they're not going to slap you today. Like, they've made a consistent pattern of something.
Right.
But if somebody's not doing that, but your fear dictates to you and tells you that this or that thing, whatever.
Well, you don't know them. Like,
or you don't...
Social media is telling you what this person really thinks and believes. You know what I'm saying? Instead of actually reading what this person said, like, that's a big thing in social media, because, like, people are like, oh, so this is what you said, that you mean this, blah, blah, blah. You're like, what are you talking about? I never said that. It happens all the time with me, because I'm such a nuanced thinker or whatever.
Yep.
This is a 9.8 from me.
Okay, I gotta actually talk about the music a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
The music was it had so many different, like...
It was progressive.
Yeah, like...
It was definitely progressive.
I like there was there was like some drum in there, but it wasn't like a drum. It was like I don't know. I wish I knew these instruments better. But like at the middle, I guess it was toward the end, before they came back in with the vocals, like the sound was like kind of like it kept changing, and like the vibe was changing.
Oh yeah.
And like I looked at you at one point and I was like, it's like running through the market. So I thought to myself, man, this person, they've had enough. They're leaving and they're not going to take this anymore. But then they ended up going back into the same conversation with the person.
It was a hand drum. And
okay, thank you, Negative.
Like,
that's what I was picturing.
To me, like,
or something.
The music was almost too good for the lyrics. Like, I hate to say it that way, but like the music was like such a high level that, like, to me, like, only like talking about like creation or something, or some like super, meta-terrestrial thing. Like for the music to be that high level, I've never heard anything like this before. Like, some of the riffs were simple as hell, like you play with 2 fingers. Some of the things were complex, but it wasn't even that. It was just the way everything melted into everything.
Yeah, the way they started it, where it was just like that. There was like some drum. Then then they added more.
The entire song was and we
were
like
building
I said,
with Legos, and I think
we were in ancient Egypt. At 4,000 years ago, or recent thing 8,000 years ago, whatever. And then like you're immediately sent into the future, because they have that little. There's this band called Dead Sea. Yeah. And instrumentally, that bend sounded like a setting on a Dead Sea setting on a. It was just it was just incredible sonically. What they were doing was incredible. I've never heard anything like it. This is the most unique song I've heard in 2023. That worked.
Yeah,
that worked. There's a lot of prog. This to me is a prog band song. Whatever. Everybody knows that prog is. I'm not gonna say I hate prog, but prog is my least favorite genre of metal, because it's too pretentious in my view. But this was prog without any pretense in my mind. Like, they were just incredible. 9.9. What do you give it?
That's exactly what I was giving it. And I started at a 9.8 and then I bumped it to a 9.9.
Negative vibes. Huge fan of Dead Sea.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. I thought I was the only one.
A 9.9 for me. I think even more because, like I said, this is a problem that I have. I hear the wrong things. I read the wrong things because I read them based off my assumptions. And to be honest with you, it made it extremely difficult when I was traveling the other day, because I didn't have maps on my phone.
Yeah.
So I had to do it off of like a piece of paper, and I was reading signs on the road, and I kept like almost like flipping stuff. Like, what's that? Like a
dyslexic.
Yes, like that. So I was like, man, I feel like, you just, it's very important to communicate in the truth and to make sure that you keep everything as clear as it can be and not to jump to conclusions and listen to people. But so when I heard this song, it was impactful to me. Like, I understand what you're saying, like the topic mixed with the music, but for me it was hopeful because the music, it was going somewhere, you know what I mean? So to me it was like, you could stay like that or you could get out of it. There's somewhere to go. There's, you know what I mean? So I think that it was a positive for me. So I'm going to go with a 9.9 as well.
Yeah, incredible song. And like, if you really look at those lyrics, if you really, like, I cut the review short. Like, if you look at those lyrics, there's a lot of deep wisdom there. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if he intended it for it to be deep wisdom or if he was just trying to complain that you're not listening to me because you already have a presupposition. Mm-hmm. But the way that he
and then when he got to the screen,
the way that he lodged his complaint was probably one of those moments where, like, the prophet is writing down prophecy and doesn't know it type of situations, because it was incredible. Lyrically, it was incredible. Unbelievable song. Okay.
Right,
that's just song number 1, dear listener.
You guys, up next.
A couple new people in the chat. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz.
Yes.
We usually don't say that, but if you want to hear more of this particular content that you will not hear anywhere else on the internet, you definitely need to subscribe, because we have been shadow banned on YouTube because there's literally no subject we will not talk about. And we don't do the little bleep out things that everybody does, the little bleep things. I think that's weird.
They're already taking all our money anyway.
Correct. So, literally, YouTube's already taking our money. So if you're new and you want to hear our stuff, you definitely got to subscribe, my man. You got to do it, my lady, because if you don't, you're not going to hear of us. All right, commercial break. We'll be right back.